Hey guys, it's Amber. Welcome back to Notable Ink. I'm excited to share 4 clean and graphic card designs using Altenew's May 2020 new release. Let's jump right in. I have Altenew's new inked Lotus here, and I'm stamping it in black ink on vellum. I'm a huge fan of their inked line. In this line, they also have inked Rose, inked Flora, and inked Bud, so I'm excited for them to come out with even more of these. As always, I'll have all of the supplies listed down below, and while you're down there, be sure to subscribe. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this image. There is a coordinating die, however, I don't have that. I stamped this in Obsidian Pigment Ink, which took a long time to dry on the vellum, so I would recommend permanent black or maybe even a StazOn pigment ink. I have a piece of Celestial 6x6 paper pack here, and I'm going to die cut that with a rounded rectangle die and then pop it up with some sticky back fun foam. This is one of the card making hacks I like to do with vellum, is to, instead of popping up the vellum itself, I'll put it on a smaller panel that's popped up, making sure that my vellum piece overhangs the panel. This gives the vellum the appearance of dimension without having to hide foam adhesive underneath the vellum. Here I have one of the sentiments from the stamp set, and I've just fussy cut that sentiment out as well. Here's the finished card. I added a few black drops, and I love how this turned out. It's clean, simple, and graphic. One of my favorite sets from the release is the Mega Brush Alpha Stamp Set. This set is so awesome, you guys, and it stamps beautifully with the Obsidian Pigment Ink. It's just so awesome, the texture and the handwritten feel to this. I'm pairing it with Floral Heart Frame Die and Fuchsia Soiree paper pack. So I have a piece of coral watercolor wash paper here, and I'm going to die cut it once with the die and then 2 pieces of black cardstock as well. I want kind of it to be popped up and have a shadow behind it, so just stacking it on top of black cardstock is a perfect way to achieve that. Whenever I'm die cutting, I try to use the 100-pound cardstock so that I have a thicker piece of paper, especially for intricate dies. That also means that I don't need to stack as many. Here's the finished card. It's super simple. I just added a small little heart at the end and a sub-sentiment and called it done. For the next card, I'll use Flowering Cistus Stamp Set. This is a layering set that has a modern feel to it, and I'm using the Sweet Dreams color family to stamp this. So I'm starting off with the lightest ink, which is Dewdrops, and then Aqualicious, Teal Cave, and Galactic Stream for each additional layer. For the center, I'll use Sunray, and I'll add a little bit of Snapdragon to that as well. And then for the little stamens, I'll use Obsidian ink. So for this card, I'm going to use the masks. So there's coordinating mask and dies for this set. So when you're using your mask, it's important that you offset it just a little bit so that you don't get a halo around your image. And I'll show you that. You'll be able to see it really clearly when I do the leaf. So I'm using the same colors for the stamp behind it, and that's the largest, most open flower. The masks are made of stencil material, so you want to be careful when you use it. Either try to wipe it off, or in my case, I just popped the card over and dropped it into my hand so that I didn't get stray ink on my card. Now here's where you'll see I have a halo around my green leaf. You can see a little white blank area in between the leaf and the flower. So I'm just going to pull my mask back just a little bit and then re-stamp that. I didn't re-ink it, I just used the ink that was on the stamp, and you can see that it filled in that area nicely. For the leaves, I stamped the most solid layer in Frayed Leaf, then Olive and Moss. Here I have Mega Brush Alpha again, and this time I'm going to put the letters closer together. So you can either choose to spread them out a little bit or get them closer together. They overlap very nicely so that you have a variety of ways to set them up. Now, after I stamped all of this, I realized it was in a weird place. I stamped it in the middle of the card, which is just kind of strange. I just wasn't paying attention. So I decided to take it to my trimmer, and I was going to cut off the bottom and add some dotted pattern paper underneath it. So I cut a straight line under hay and then fussy cut around the flower and the Y descender. So here's how it looks, and then this is what it would look like on the dotted paper. Once I had these set up, I decided that I wanted to trim off the top. Now this would have been all well and good if I hadn't gotten distracted by a phone call, and you'll see why in a minute. So to adhere the dotted panel straight to this piece of green cardstock, I just used my score buddy to line it up, and then I'll trim off the other edge. I accidentally trimmed off to the left of the H, which looked strange to me. So ultimately, I just ended up fussy cutting completely around the hay, which I liked much better. I decided to add a black strip, just one more border above the dotted so that there was a transition between the dot and the green. And then I popped up the fussy cut panel with Doris double-sided foam strips. Here's the finished card, which doesn't look anything like the idea I had in my head, which so often happens because I don't create sample cards first 99.9% of the time. I sit down to create and record at the same time, and you guys get to see the full creative process. Moving on to the last clean and graphic card, I started with a piece of paper from the Fuchsia Soiree paper pack, and this is one of the watercolor washes that I think is so beautiful from that pack. And then I have the delicate Bouquet Stamp Set. I'm inking it up in a white pigment ink, and I inked it up a few times, but ultimately it just wasn't bright enough, so I decided to white heat emboss it and one of the sentiments from the set instead. I added a few white satin sequins, and this card was done. I hope that you guys enjoyed these clean and graphic no coloring card designs. You know, if coloring's not your thing, grab your layering sets or just do some quick inking and embossing and you're good to go. Thanks so much for joining me today. Be sure to leave a comment on my blog for a chance to win a prize and hop along with us. If you haven't already subscribed, do that down below, and I'll be back soon with more inspiration.